Welcome back to MFO, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. I've got some news today about the Major League Fishing Tackle Warehouse Invitational. And this is, obviously, it's very, very big news for me and my fellow competitors that have been fishing on the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. Not exactly sure how big a news you guys are going to view it, but it's a piece of information that I received recently that I don't think many people are aware of. And, you know, let's put it this way. It's not even June yet, and I have confirmation about something for next year. Normally, we don't get confirmation until after Christmas. So I view this as I'm getting something 6 months early. I figured you'd want to know to stick around. We'll share with you what it is, and you can decide whether you think it's big news or not. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. So let me give you some background here on this, and that is that ever since the BPT split up with Bass, and there was, at one point there was the Pro Circuit, and then they called them the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals and things like that. The questions that have been going on is, why are the Invitationals even here? When you look at Bass, you go, hey, there's the Elites and you got the Opens. The Opens are the feeder system for the Elites. And everybody kind of would scratch their heads and go, we don't quite get the way MLF is doing this. They got the BPTs, and then they got the Pro Circuit Invitationals, whatever you want to call it, which is the feeder. But the Toyotas don't really feed the Invitationals. But, you can get into this, and it's like, it's convoluted, and it doesn't fit the normal pattern. And the reality is that I think it probably came about because when Major League Fishing started and they started the BPT, FLW already had the FLW circuit, and because the BPT took guys from Bass, they didn't take all the FLW guys, and so they needed a place for those guys to fish because there were a lot of guys who thought they were just going to be out, so they started this Pro Circuit. But again, ever since that time, there was a question of how long are they going to keep this thing? Are they going to ultimately go to more of a Bass type format where it's the pros and the minor leagues kind of thing? So every year as an invitational angler, we keep wondering, is this the last year we're fishing? Is this the last, is this the end of the invitationals? Well, through a weird set of circumstances, I got confirmation that there's going to be, the invitationals will be coming back next year. There will be an invitational circuit next year. Like I said, we're not even to June, and just because of some communication and putting two and two together about that, and again, this is not just I'm assuming, this is the invitationals will be happening next year, which is a nice confirmation from a standpoint of knowing, okay, there's a place to fish. Granted, you can make other choices. People can choose to go to the MPFL or things like that, but it's nice to, at this time, know that there's going to be a place to fish, and that would be the invitationals. The other thing that I wanted to kind of cover just as a, it does make sense to keep the invitationals because the invitationals are actually a revenue source for the BPT. A percentage of our monies that we pay in to fish on the invitationals actually goes to the BPT. And so, there's definitely a reason. I will also say that the invitationals did a phenomenal job this year of really upping the payouts and making the payout structure one that was as profitable, if not more profitable, than a lot of other tournament organizations. So they're finding a good balance between taking some money out and using it for their higher level circuits, but still finding a way to make the payouts relatively decent comparative to other organizations. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I think that entry fees are low. They're not. They're very high. I'm not saying that they're paying out, way down the field. They're not. They're paying the top third. But we have a championship event, and they're running the organization. They're running the tournaments really well. So between the fact that we've got a limit on forward-facing sonar, so it's not being used the entire tournament, and there's a day on and a day off, I think that's a big positive. The fact that there's some solidity and some knowledge that, okay, we're going to fish this year, there's going to be a circuit next year, that's a big plus. And I think that it helps guys. If nothing else, it helps guys to go and say, hey, I know where I'm going to be fishing. I know that I've got a place to fish. And from a standpoint of going and talking to sponsors and things like that, that's a big plus to know that you can do that in June as opposed to waiting for New Year's Day to be able to do that. Just some information that I want to pass along. Like I said, I know this probably means a lot more to me than it does to you guys, so I appreciate you listening to this. If you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button, the like button, and we will be back tomorrow for another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.